Welcome to Giants Nation. I'm your host, Bobby Skinner, here with Jordan Raanan of ESPN or Breaking Big Blue. Crossover, but this time is technically the Giants Nation show with Breaking Big Blue instead of Breaking Big Blue sponsored by Giants Nation show. So you're at the combine.
Bobby, semantics.
Yeah, it's clear. That's literally what it is, man. Basically, the border is different, and we put a number at the end of the episode, and it gets its own intro song. So that's basically the only differences right there. So
I think I need an intro song now. I might need to work on that.
Yeah, but you would get if we do an intro song for you, this is your intro song for every show. For us, it's a different song or movie scene or TV scene for each one. Theme of the episode, or there's no theme and we just talk ball. I just pick a song that I like. So we're going to get into all the combine stuff, everything that's going on down there, everything that you're hearing, the Giants pending free agents. I was talking with Grump, and I was like, hey, next week we have to do our pending free agent episode and our free agency preview, because then free agency is right around the corner. I feel like because of all the John Harbaugh stuff, we didn't get that normal. It feels like things are moving fast. I mean, we're going to have new Giants on the roster, in 10 days. We're going to have guys leaving the roster in 10 days.
I think they're about to take like a wrecking ball's not the right word, but they are really going to reshape this roster. It's just going to have a way different look and feel by the time they're done with it. And that's the thing. And you said that because John Harbaugh is in charge. Nobody really knows what to expect from him, right? Because, we kind of see you could use Baltimore as background, but he was never really in charge of personnel also. So, I think people have ideas, but it's like we're more so than ever before. We're going to get an idea. We're going to get probably shocked by some of the things that happen here.
Well, and and I want to talk about Kayvon too, and part of this, like, I'll get a comp pick from him. I was like, you know why the Ravens are so good at the comp pick formula is because they've drafted well and they've been doing this for so long. Like, you don't just enter in and get the comp pick formula. You obviously have years where that comes into play if you're a bad team, but the likelihood is that the players that they can that will walk next year and they could enter the comp pick formula is Kayvon, John Runyon, and Jameis Winston. That's basically it, unless they keep Bobby Okereke, but I don't think he's going to get a ton of money, another year into free agency. So you're saying you don't expect them to sign 3 contracts that will, counteract those. So that happens after good things. So we are going to see a lot of new things, I think, as well, too. So, the run game, let's start with that, because there's obviously going to be an emphasis on rushing offense and rushing defense. Rushing defense, we know how that is at it, right? Strong DBs, run stuffing defensive tackles, good linebackers. That's the simple process. On offense, it's quarterback, right? I have a mobile quarterback in Jackson Dart. The offensive line, finding the guys that fit that, right? You had a tweet about the running back position.
Guys,
let's lead off with that.
Okay, go ahead.
Let's lead off with the running back thing.
Yeah.
You had a tweet saying that, there's the smoke out of the combine is that there is a lot more interest in the Giants making a splash in the running back room than people would assume.
Yeah, I think that. So let me preface this by saying I'm not so. I don't know they pulled the trigger on it, but I think it just goes to show you how they're thinking, right? The fact that they're looking seriously at guys like Jeremiah Love in the draft, or the top free agents, guys like Kenneth Walker or Travis Etienne. Like, the fact that they're even looking or monitoring the market on those guys kind of gives you an idea of what they're going to do here, right? So that's why, to me, it's notable. Now, do I think they ultimately take Jeremiah Love with the 5th overall pick? No, I probably would not think that, but there are scenarios maybe where they move down a few spots, they collect another draft pick, and then he comes into play, or that they do sign one of these guys in free agency. So the fact that they're doing that, they're going to bulk up the offensive line. Obviously, they're looking at offensive linemen. The right side of the line is not, they don't have one, right? They're not under contract unless you consider Marcus Bowe as someone you're willing to put out there and pencil in as a starter, which we've talked about this before, Bobby. That comes with significant risk. So they're going to be looking at right tackles. Jermaine Eluemunor still has a chance to return, but it'll come with a price. And guards as well. Wyatt Teller, a guy that that they're interested in, guys like that. So big move offensive linemen, guys that could put their hands on people and drive them and move them like the Giants. I mean, like John Harbaugh would like to have with the Giants, like they have with the Ravens. That's all part of it. And it all stems from, kind of what you're hearing. I mean, I just got a text as we're sitting here saying, yeah, this guy said the Giants are all over Jeremiah Love. That's the kind of stuff that's going around. And I know people are like, oh, smoke screen. Like, no, they're looking into these things. This is something they're looking into. It's not like somebody from the Giants. I don't know why people always come up with this, like, oh, the Giants are just spreading. But nobody from the Giants is coming up to me like, yeah, we're going after those running backs. Jeremiah Love. Yeah, we like him. We want him. Like, that's not how it works.
Smokescreen is probably the most overused term. As I've gotten,
don't understand how it works, like how that goes. So
yeah. Like one of my favorites is like a team that has the first overall pick, and it's like they're interested in drafting this quarterback. Like that's just a smokescreen to try and get someone to trade. It's like if they wanted to draft that quarterback, they would just draft them. They wouldn't be like, hey, we really think this is our franchise quarterback at first overall, but if you offer us some picks, then maybe we won't draft him. But so when people see that tweet, I think their eyes go to Jeremiah Love. Like, oh my gosh, they're going to take our running back in the top 5 again. My eyes actually go to the Kenneth Walker or Travis Etienne part of that, because I think that is much more realistic and a better debate of like of good use of assets. That does make me feel like they're going to look to upgrade the running back room somehow in free agency, right? We're going to talk about cuts in a little bit. Devin Singletary is someone who's an auto cut. Cam Scatterbo coming back from the injury, which rewatching all of Jackson Dart's film for, the episode we did this week reminded me how, like, like he wasn't a top, 5 back in the NFL, but he was helping this offense a lot. But he's coming back from that injury. Tracy, I'm not the world's biggest fan of Tracy, but he's certainly serviceable. Do you think that they're going to be spending $6 million plus per year on some type of running back in free agency?
Yeah, I probably do, based on the fact that they're even looking at some of these guys, right? I mean, it shows you that they are serious about adding another significant piece here. And if you think about the Ravens, they've always had a deep backfield, right? They always had multiple guys that were in that backfield, and then they even went when they had a pretty good running game, and they had another guy in Derrick Henry, right? Like they've always wanted to fill that backfield with good, capable running backs. I mean, maybe they get priced out and they decide we need a guy in the draft. It doesn't necessarily mean it need to be in the first round, but maybe they decide in the middle rounds. Like you still get a pretty good running back in the middle rounds, even though they have 2 running backs, to add a guy there. So I just expect them to probably add a significant piece somewhere. Don't know where, don't know what round, don't know at what level yet, but they're at least looking at pretty much the top. And it's probably just going to trickle down from there. Okay, this is too costly in regards to resources in the draft. Maybe this is too costly in regards to money. And then it'll trickle down to wherever they land. I think so. 6+, I think somewhere right around there. That would be my guess.
Kenneth Walker is the one that intrigues me the most because
why?
Because he's a good player. I think he's extremely talented. But also like he's never been high as like he's never been efficient on a down-to-down basis. Never. And part of that's Seattle's offensive line. Part of that is he likes the bounce plays, right? And we see the guys that like the bounce plays, they have the best highlights. And he was legitimately great in the Super Bowl. Like he 100% deserved MVP, not just because, quarterback didn't perform well. Like he is what kept that. He is what made that game not a 6-3 game, and what made it where the Seahawks were comfortable. Like him making stuff out of nothing. So he's extremely talented, but he's been low success rate. He's missed games in 3 or 4 years. His best season is 1,050 rushing yards. His own team is not signing him. But if you're bringing in Greg Roman,
I wouldn't write that down yet. That his own team is not signing him. I think there's a good chance that he ends up back there.
His own team is letting him hit the open market as a running back.
Okay.
So I guess that's, as a 25-year-old running back, right? Usually if teams want to keep them, they keep them. They don't let them hit the open market. He could be a nice infusion into a team that's trying to run the ball, right? The best way to help Jackson Dart is by building the offensive line and building a run game that can actually help you keep on schedule and not asking him to be hero all the time and making some of the easy decisions, the smart decisions for him. To put him in a Greg Roman run scheme while building the offensive line out, and Jackson Dart's rushing ability, and Cam Scatterbu coming off the injury, and Tyrone Tracy as that third guy for a couple more years. That is a little more intriguing to me if he's getting 11.5, 12 mil per year, which I think I heard Matthew Berry say that the Seahawks basically are like, hey, go out and see what you can get. If you get down to like the 10, 11 mark, that's where it gets you. Can the Giants get him at 12 mil per year, which I know is a mark that is controversial because of Saquon.
Yeah, that would be the interesting part is like 2 years later, you're obviously now clearly there's someone else making the decision. Like Joe Schoen is part of the Giants and their decision making, but the final decisions here now go through John Harbaugh, and this is him saying, I want to shape this team in a much different way than we have in the past. But if it definitely would bring up questions like, hey, Joe Schoen's still there. He let Saquon walk. Now we're basically signing Kenneth Walker for that same deal. And their thing will be, hey, the cap's gone up. It's that money in today's world isn't the same as the money 3 years ago. So it certainly will draw a lot of attention if they made a move like that. You don't think it's too much in the running back room to have 3 guys like that and to invest that?
I think that would be, again, there's going to be unpopular decisions made with the new coaching staff. That wouldn't be like, oh, we want a 3-headed monster. That'd be like, yeah, I don't like Tyrone Tracy as much as you guys do. That's one of those things.
Yeah, I think you're probably right about that. And so he would kind of be the odd man out and just be unhappy sitting there as the third running back.
Yeah, that's what it would be. Yeah,
you just deal with it.
Yeah, it would. That's exactly what I think it would be. It would be, hey, Cam Scatterbu, good running back too for what we're doing. And I want to say this too with Kenneth Walker. I don't want them to go pay 16, 7. I don't want them to try and reset the running back market or match.
No. That's not gonna. That's not.
This
what
is like
numbers are around here.
Yeah, that's like if like, hey man, this is your market's not what you think it is. Now let's talk with you, type of thing.
I think the 10 to 12 is a pretty good number from people talking around here at the combine. That seems to be around there.
Yeah, and if you think about some of the players that get signed to 10 to 12 mil, Darius Slayton won last year. Like that, is that crazy to be like, hey, we're really investing in the run. We're really investing in the run game. It's not, you got to address the offensive line too. If they ignore offensive line and then do that, then that's
they're not ignoring offensive line. That's part of it here. Like, look, let's talk about the trickle down effect of this now to a degree, right? Likely when you're doing these kind of things, Wan'Dale Robinson's not going to fit into this picture, right? This doesn't make sense. You want to become a run-heavy team. You're going to maybe invest in offensive line, and you're going to invest in and then maybe another running back, like a slot receiver for $15 plus million around there, right around that mark. Doesn't make a ton of sense. It looks like Wan'Dale Robinson is going to end up elsewhere at this point. I mean, that's what it sounds like.
Let's transition this into the 3 pending free agents. Wan'Dale Robinson, It seems like he's out. I was, doing a video for Bleacher Report today. I'm like, you know what? The Titans have the most cap space in the NFL, and then Brian Dable is like the slot receiver guy. I went and looked around the NFL at like slot only. You have CeeDee Lamb, who's like, he's just a wide receiver. True blue wide receiver 1 who plays the slot, works on the outside a little bit, but he's a slot receiver. And then it's like, you look at the history of them getting contracts, they're not out there. You know who it is? Khalil Shakir, who is with Josh Allen, and they run a very, roots from Brian Dable's offense. Cole Beasley was another one. So and then Wan'Dale Robinson being picked in, top of the second round for the Giants. Like, it just makes so much sense. And I don't think it's even dumb if the Titans pay him a ton of money, because they don't have any wide receiver that they can really rely on. It's a big part of Brian Dable. And you have all that money, make some splash signings that you wouldn't make if you had 25 million cap space, but you have 90 million, and give a reliable target to Cam Ward.
And that's kind of the buzz around here, by the way, is that, Wan'Dale Robinson, like the market for him or Alec Pierce, if he becomes a free agent, like that Tennessee Titan spot is the one that they fit into there. Like one of those two guys, if someone told me what would you bet? Like you had to bet your life on them landing somewhere, it'd be in Tennessee.
And it makes sense for the Giants to move on, right? Like people want the Giants to consider wide receiver in the first round. That's your answer on what you really think of Wan'Dale Robinson. And instead of just, hey, let's resign this guy when you have Malik Neighbors, that's kind of your answer of what you think on him. If you're even willing to consider wide receiver in the first round, that means you don't think Wan'Dale Robinson's someone that you want to pay $20 million a year or close to $20 million. And the Khalil Shakir kind of set the floor at $15 million per year with his contract last year. The Giants do have actual other pending free agents this year compared to last year, where the only one they had is Darius Slayton. So you're going to have to make some type of decisions. You have a new team where they're going to want to have a bunch of infusion of newer players. It just seems like Wan'Dale Robinson's the odd man out in this pending free agent group.
Yeah, it does. I mean, he's a good player. I like him as a player, and I think he's going to get paid, and just doesn't seem to be a great fit here. And John Harbaugh kind of talked about that the other day, about different slot receivers, they come in different molds, but yeah, his mold is what he's looking for. I mean, you hear stuff like, oh, they're looking at tight ends and blockers, and Jake Bobo types at wide receiver, guys who like big physical guys who can contribute as blockers. It all seems to be like pointing towards, okay, this is what the Giants' identity is going to become. And doesn't that make perfect sense? And that's why you like Tyler Linderbaum is like, that's like a real thing, right? Like going and paying a lot of money for someone like that, because they want this team to take the identity and shape that they want. And what does Tyler Linderbaum do well, Bobby? Is the run game, right? Like that's his thing. Your mic's off, but not working.
Now it's back.
Okay,
The NFL set this. This is the issue of doing live podcasts. The NFL set the salary cap at 301, or not? They set it. What revenue set it at $301 million, up 22 mil from last year.
Yeah. So the cap is jumping greatly every year, which gives teams the ability to really make a lot of moves. And like the money and the cap of teams, like how much money they have to spend, is becoming less and less of a factor. Like teams, if you really can go get the guys you want to get, especially if they're your own guys. Like there's, and I don't think I think this is also with the cap now over 300 million. Bobby, people should remember, you can't just be like, oh, I can't pay over $20 million for a wide receiver anymore. Like that $20 million that you have in your head being a benchmark is no longer relevant anymore. It's just going up with the cap going up and up. Like Alec Pierce is going to make like $25 million, like that's what
it's hard to calibrate too in your head, because it's still $20 million. It is very hard to calibrate, like
but that's why people with the Darius Slayton thing, especially last year, think about it. Darius Slayton's, what did he get a year? 12
mil per year. De'Ami Brown got like 11 mil. Like,
okay. And Alec Pierce is going to get, if he hits free agency this year, easily, well over $20 million a year. So that's why the $12 million a year shouldn't be like, oh my God, they paid him all that money. Like that's what it is for, a number 3 type receiver.
Yeah, which is insane. And again, it's extremely hard to calibrate, especially at the wide receiver spot, because it's a very much we see everything you kind of do position. But yeah, very, very hard to calibrate. Jermaine Eluemunor and Cordale Flott, they both have David Mulugeta as their agent. It was a report that he talked with the Giants, I think either yesterday or the day before. I hate David Mulugeta because he's such a good agent. What do you hear on that front?
Yeah, look, both those guys have a chance to return. It's going to depend on their market, but they both should have a pretty decent market. They're going to get paid. I said before, I'm not so sure about Flott because he's a 170-pound corner, being of the desire of what John Harbaugh wants, and improving the run defense we heard. But yeah, they look like they have pretty strong marks. I still say Eluemunor, the most likely of the 3 to return at this point.
That makes me feel good. Flott, I think, is probably one of the more unpredictable contracts of the entire NFL free agency, because he's 24 years old. He has 1 year of above average production. He's a good man coverage corner. The Giants are switching to more zone-based scheme. He is 160 pounds, but he puts in good effort and run defense, though. He's not like Deonte Banks where he's just an actual liability where he's too stupid to just do his responsibility in the run game. No offense, Deonte. I think he's one of the more unpredictable
I'm sure
players.
there would be a fed steak in there, by the way.
Yeah, Deonte Banks, share the kick return video on your Instagram story one more time, please. But I think he has one of the most unpredictable contracts of all of free agency, especially because the Giants are changing the coaching staff, so their own team is just as much the question mark as what the rest of the NFL values him at.
Yeah, and that's the thing. That's his unpredictability also has to do with, like you said, he's a little team specific or scheme specific. So he's not going to be a guy who's for everyone, right? There's certain teams that wouldn't even consider him. And so it's going to have to be a very specific market. He's the one that could end up coming back and you'd be like, oh, that's a good deal. That's a good bargain. Like, that's the one I look at and say, it's not out of the realm of possibility. He the league doesn't have those multiple teams saying, oh, we want this guy. Eluemunor plays right tackle in the league when there aren't a lot of right tackles. The teams need tackles.
Yeah, I have
Rasheed Walker. Rasheed Walker, he's not a great player. He's going to get paid a lot of money, though.
Well, that's the thing. Is Eluemunor going to hit, like, I've lived under the assumption that Eluemunor was going to get at minimum close to 20 mil per year. Is his age and lack of sustained success, even though he's been a good player for like 4 years now, is his market going to come in lower than what we assumed all year?
That depends what you assume. I heard the numbers I heard around here were like high teens.
Which high teens should be an easy, like, get it done. Like, I think that's easy money. You look at the tackle contracts over the last 3 years and the guys who are getting them, they're insane. If you can get him in high teens, I think that's the easiest bring back guy of all time.
Here's something that a team exec was telling me and saying about Eluemunor. Like, if you're very specific on, we have a guy, an offensive line coach, and we want everyone to play with this technique, and this is how we want it done. And you want to, like, he's not that guy for you, right? He's sort of developed a way to be successful throughout his career, as he got, and it took him a while to get to this point, right? Like, to ask him to come in and change what he's doing, and technique-wise, I'm talking about, like, that's not going to be for everyone either. So it has to be a spot where you're willing to let him play, do what he does. I mean, he's not a big, like, and this is why it might not be the best fit. And I kind of go back and forth. Like, he's not in the run game, move you, road grader, for lack of a better term, old school cliche type word, road grader type of guy in the run game. So if that's what you're looking for, and that's what the Giants are intent on getting, might not be him.
Correct. Since we're talking about that, do you hear anything else on offensive line additions through free agency? Tyler Linderbaum, Wyatt Teller, any of those names popping up?
Yeah, I expect them to be in on both Linderbaum and Teller.
What is happening with Linderbaum? Because the Ravens just came out and said we gave him a market-setting offer.
Yeah, basically they were going to make him the highest paid center, and it wasn't enough. And I think that, read between the lines, the two sides have agreed, okay, he's going to hit free agency, and when that happens, he's going to make even more money. So I think we're looking at like over the $20 million range for him.
Interesting.
Now, if you're the Giants, like, and you really, like you said, sometimes you're making uncomfortable decisions, and if that's the guy they want, and they want to set it, and John Harbaugh wants one of his guys in to really have everyone, operate in a certain way, like, that's sometimes you just might have to overpay and make a move that for reasons that it's not just, okay, him as a football player, right? He brings more than that. He brings the attitude, the knowledge of what the culture is, help build the culture, and especially important in an offensive line room because that's a tight-knit unit naturally, inherently. So I could see why the Giants maybe would say, well, we have to put a premium on it, and that would make them even more expensive than Creed Humphrey, right? And who's the best center in the NFL.
Yeah, I put less stock into the culture thing and more so just like he is a really good player and he's a perfect fit for exactly
well, he
what
has to be a good player. But on top of that, I don't know. When you're trying to build something and build a culture, like a few extra $1 million a year for that. To on top of that, in fact, he's obviously a good player. We would be talking 20 million plus million per center if he wasn't a really good player. It makes it okay. We'll stretch ourselves maybe for this.
Yeah, and he's not some like bad pass blocker either. I know there's different metrics. Some say he's elite, some say he's good or whatever. I need to actually dive into some film and watch him. And I didn't love him as much as other people did coming out of Iowa. But like, you talk about wanting to build a run game. He allows you not only to do what you want, but he gives you an advantage. Like to be able to have your center move that way is just something that like teams don't have, and that allows you to do so much more in the run game when you can consistently just pull your center or trust him to get to the second level. Like that's going to help you create explosive runs, and that's going to help Jackson Dart quite a bit, and it's going to help your play action game and everything.
Yeah, I mean, are you on board? Like, what do you think of the whole idea of them becoming this completely run heavy? Not completely. I mean, that's overstating it, but becoming a run heavy focused team, and less 3 wide and throwing the ball, spreading them out, and throwing the ball like that, and getting more back towards that kind of style with Jackson Dart and with Malik Neighbors, like all these pieces.
Yeah, I mean, we're not putting together the Tim Tebow Broncos offense when you do that. You're just running the ball more and having more of an identity, and you're putting a little bit of heavier personnel on the field and play actioning. Like run heavy in the NFL now is would have looked at like he'd been looked like the most pass happy offense in the NFL 20 years ago.
Yeah, what's run heavy, like 51% run?
Yeah, like there's no way, and they're like, you say run heavy, but there's no way they run the ball more times than they throw it next year. Like there's just no possible way of that being the case. So yeah, I'm totally on board with that. And getting heavier as a team with the tight end, using more tight ends and stuff, and allowing Malik Neighbors to create explosives. So that's good. I want to touch on the Kayvon Thibodeau stuff because his name has been thrown out there a lot. You and Grump obviously talked about it a lot on Tuesday. Where is this heading? This is my stance, and I'm not moving off of it, is I want to keep him. I want to re-sign him. But go look at George Karlaftis' contract. Go look at Greg Rousseau's contract. Give him something that's reasonable around that range. If he declines, then I'm trying to trade him for a day 2 pick, because if he declines that now, he's going to decline it in a year and he's just going to walk. And I'm not betting on the comp pick formula when the Giants don't have a bunch of good players walking and a lot of cap space that they're probably going to spend.
Yeah. Well, here's the scenario though. Okay. I said, I asked a couple people and they estimated what they thought the market would be. It doesn't mean that there is that market out there, right? So I said that those people around the league think that his value is around late day 2 or an early day 3 pick, right? I'm not sure that a 3rd round pick is even out there right now. Like, so it's more likely to the latter than an early day 3 pick. So I think if the Giants don't get the value that, like you said, he's a useful player, to have him there would be a positive. So to keep him adds to the defense, right? He provides something to the defense. He actually played well, I thought, better against the run. That's probably his strength at this point. Still is a decent pass rusher, not a great pass rusher, but he's a quality player in the NFL. Now, you don't want to give up a quality player, I think, for nothing, except if you really were just, hey, we need that money. We need that money to be flexible to make moves here. So I don't know. I would say that you're probably looking at, I know somebody I just saw in the comments said, trade Kayvon for a 3rd. I think the more likely scenario right now is what's available for him is like a 4th or 5th, or another player if you could find another player for him. Because think about this for a second. My understanding is the Jets right now in this market at this point in time couldn't get a 3rd round pick for Jermaine Johnson. So you're probably not getting a 3rd round pick for Kayvon Thibodeau, who's, by the way, been injured the past couple of years.
But Kayvon's also been more productive than Jermaine Johnson, a lot younger than Jermaine Johnson. I guess, is there a player swap like trade out there? Like how? That's my question.
Is predict those kind of things, right? Like player swap trades. I mean, sure. I mean, they got to see if they can come up with something or something that they find useful or valuable. But we don't know that.
Yeah, that's just kind of my question is on this. How motivated are the Giants on this? Are they trying to like that's my question is like, are they trying to re-sign him now? And if they're not trying to re-sign him now, then they definitely should be trying to trade him.
Yeah,
And
I have not. I feel pretty confident the Giants have not tried to re-sign Kayvon Thibodeau at this point.
tell me why not? Like why would Kayvon Thibodeau not be re-signed right now instead of going to next year and him helping the open market? It makes no sense to let him.
How do we know John Harbaugh? How do we know John Harbaugh likes him?
That's my point. Is then trade him.
Yeah, he doesn't really even know him as a person yet. Like, how does he know? You know, his thing is, does he love football? Like, to the degree that John Harbaugh, like, all these things are questions. Like, don't you have to see him stay healthy? Maybe, you know,
Charlie Bullen's still here. You can ask him about, Kayvon.
Sure, but look, John Harbaugh's running the show. He could, we don't look the actions at this point say, that's not their intention to go re-sign him now. I don't think you should expect that to be the case anytime soon.
That's my point though. Is like, then trade him. You know what I mean? Because he's not going to do anything this year that makes you want to pay a much more money than want to pay him right now. That's my point. We're not talking about
more likely scenario at this point. Is that at the end of the day, they do find something, and then they're able to use that money and the funds and the resources to then build the team out in other ways and in other positions.
Yep. Let's see. So that's what I have on that. The next thing is, this one's really important. It's Rula. Look, taking care of your mental health shouldn't be harder than taking care of your physical health. If you pull a muscle, you go see a doctor. Not me. I'm gonna struggle through that. But when it comes to finding, but when it comes to finding the right therapist, suddenly it's frustrating. You've got long wait lists, or you're staring down huge out-of-pocket costs. That's what usually stops people from getting help. I hate to break up this ad, but one of my favorite, the grind growing up struggling a little bit, not growing up struggling, but in 20s was I got stung by a bee and I didn't realize I was allergic, but I went to anaphylactic shock in one of my customers' yards, and they come out and I'm don't call the ambulance, because I didn't want to pay for an ambulance ride despite dying on some random customer's lawn. That's where Rula comes in. Rula makes therapy simple, affordable, and fast. They probably give you advice to not do that. They work with major insurance plans, and the average session copay is just $15. $15. That's basically the cost of lunch. But instead of a sandwich, you're investing in your own headspace. And with Rula, you're not just matched and left to figure it out. They check in and make sure you're actually making progress. Every therapist on the platform is licensed, vetted, and picked for their expertise. So you're talking to someone legit, not just whoever happens to be available. Getting started couldn't be easier. You answer a few quick questions about what matters to you, and Rula connects you with in-network providers who actually fit your needs. You pick the time, and you can be talking to a therapist as soon as the next day. No weeks of waiting, no endless back and forth. Bottom line, if you've been putting this off, Rula takes away the excuses. Simple, affordable, and actually built to help you get better. Every therapist on Rula's platform is licensed, vetted, and chosen for their expertise. Thousands of guys have already used Rula to finally get the care they needed. Don't keep putting it off. Go to Rula.com/Giants and get started today. That's Rula, RULA.com/Giants. Take the first step, get connected, and take control of your mental health. Moving on, cuts. We should, if there's any cuts to be made, they'll happen sometime next week or even over the weekend. I tweeted this out and just a list of guys they could. Okay, they saved $9 million. Runyon, I don't think that one's happening, especially because Shane has touted him. But if they wanted to go spend $18 million on a guard or something, they could use that money and look for the upgrade. But you could say, but I don't think that's.
But then you don't have another guard at the other side.
I agree. That's why I don't think it's happening.
It just look, they have enough holes on the offensive line and especially if they think that they want a center. So that's 3 spots you basically have to fill.
Yeah, that's why I don't think it's happening. You need right guard, right tackle to be filled. But I just wanted to put the guys who you could save money on the actual list. Hudson, you could save 5.4. That's an auto. Graham Gano, 4.5 auto, which we thought was auto last year. But that was all Brian Dable's fault, guys. Don't worry about it. It's not my fault.
I didn't think it was auto last year. I didn't think there was any chance he was getting cut.
Singletary 5.2. That seems like an auto, especially with some of the conversations you're having. John Michael Smith's 3.8 if they went after a Linderbaum. Roy Robertson Harris 3.3. That would be an auto for me. I don't know about the Giants. Chris Board 2.1, former Raven. So there could, you're not saving much there, but also the Ravens didn't match the contract that the Giants offered him, so maybe they don't like him as much as you would think. The question with there is, we said Runyon. Is Bobby Okereke going to be on this team? Because that's the one where we have not heard anything. It felt like a foregone conclusion by the way Joe Schoen basically said he was in the preseason on the preseason broadcast. What do you hear on Bobby Okereke?
Yeah, that's something we're going to have to wait and see. I was trying to get something before the show. Just didn't come through. Like scheduling here and stuff at the combine, stuff happened. So I'm not positive, but listening to John Harbaugh the other day made me think, he passed the comment like, hey, if you don't have a linebacker to make the tackles, you're never going to stop the run. And it's like, oh, okay. So I don't know. I think that's something that might be addressed here. I probably lean in that direction at this point, but I don't have definitive information at the moment. Soon enough, though, Bobby. We're close. We're close to, I think, finding out the answer to that.
What about Sonny Styles, baby? Sonny Styles, lighting up the combine, film plus combine. Oh, my gosh. I might have a linebacker.
I think that's a realistic pick for them at 5. Like, if I had a list, I do like my most likely Giants draft picks at 5. I know I said they're looking at running back, but if I put a list of most likely draft picks at 5, like Sonny Styles would be ahead of Jeremiah Love on that list. He might also be ahead of Caleb Downs. And it might go like that. That might be the order that it went at this point. What are we in late February? That it would probably be 1, 2, 3. It would be Styles, Downs, and then Jeremiah Love. And also remember, like I said, it could be like a slight trade back situation with Love. Like all depends on possibilities. It doesn't necessarily have to be at 5. It could be at 8, 9, 12, like something like that.
I got to watch a couple more players that in the consensus top 15, but I kind of keep going back in my head between Caleb Downs and Sonny Styles at pick number 5.
I know that people here were extremely impressed, and the Giants as well, with Sonny Styles. I mean, they kind of knew he was going to blow up the combine because he's apparently, 43 and a half inches, Bobby. Do people understand how insane that is for like a defensive player? Like a guy like, I remember Sterling Shepard, I believe, did 41 and a half or 42 and a half. I forget which one. And that was a really good number for like a wide receiver. Okay. This guy just did 43 and a half. He's a middle linebacker.
I can't remember who tweeted it out, but it's like basically he could dunk while looking down at the hoop.
Did you see his basketball highlights?
No, I didn't, but those will go. If we draft him, I will make sure
they're awesome. So they popped up on my feed today. He's like, I think he's a lefty. And he looks like basically, remember Chris Bosh, like the skinny lefty, and he's just pinning the ball, like blocking everything, and just like pinning the ball against the back. Where it's a pretty sick highlight video, I got to tell you. And he looks like he could have really played college basketball easy.
Chris Bosh is it's very crazy to see a player transition so quickly from the like, hey, we post up, post moves, to then Miami. It's like basically go stand to the side and shoot mid ranges and knock them down. Of like the modern as the 4 spot got modernized.
Who knew Bobby basketball? I really this is out of left field. I did not expect that.
Oh, dude,
Bobby hoops.
I'm not as into it as I used to be, but I am. I was an NBA head almost just as much as an NFL. The Nets are my second favorite team. In
yeah, sports, I do know you're a pretty big Nets fan, which always makes me scratch my head.
They're New Jersey. It was a New Jersey.
I forgot they had fans.
Yeah, we don't have a lot of fans. I'll never be like these. Oh, we run New York when we got Kevin Durant. I don't care about running New York. I just want to win one title. I don't care how we do it. I'll pay for it. We'll do whatever. I just want one title as a Nets fan. Knicks, they're clearly better right now. They are the number one fan base.
I thought we were talking about Sonny Styles.
Yeah, Sonny Styles. I kind of want him. I want his brother Lorenzo Styles Jr. As a UDFA. We don't have a 7th round pick. I was looking at some mock draft simulators because Grumps is coming out on Monday. And I was like, ooh, that'd be kind of cool if I did Sonny Styles in my mock draft and then got his brother for the vibes. be a much better version than last year's Shador, and then what was the other safeties, Shiloh brothers. But yeah, Sonny Styles, awesome thing. We're at the 40-minute mark, so I want to go through a few topics.
Okay, let's go. Let's do speed topics.
Where did I credit Ian O'Connor like crazy on this Don Aponte thing? I went back and looked at my notes in our mailbag, and the main thing I was talking about was with Don Aponte was the Giants themselves. Like, it was more what they put out, where they said she is responsible for strategic planning for football operations, analytics, salary, cap management, player contract negotiations, compliance, and working closely with the college and pro personnel departments.
They just copied and pasted that from Kevin Abrams' bio.
Okay, but she's not doing the same things as Kevin Abrams, though.
But that's what I'm saying. That's all that was. It was just my complaint to you was, I was going to do this real quick, was that you were pumping like, wow, the big news from Ian O'Connor. Like, I was like, what? I was in Cancun, so
I don't even remember. I didn't do that. I think I just retweeted his article or something.
Maybe it was Booby Winter, and I was in Cancun, and I was a few too many deep, and I thought it was you.
Maybe, or maybe it was Dunleavy or somebody. You know what? It was probably Dunleavy, because he was talking about how he's a Shoe and Tony Award winner.
Yeah.
So what? That's the only thing I want to hit on from Shane's presser, where he was basically almost tried to downplay. Like, yeah, she'll do, video and analytics will report to Don Aponte. And that was my question, is who reports to her? And then question is, she works closely with the college and pro personnel department. What does that look like? That's the last. I only want to hit on this for a couple seconds, but what's with the Joe Schoen, I'm the GM, blah, blah, blah. And I saw others say this, but I tweeted it right after the article came out saying the Giants don't like the narrative that Shane's under control. Is they have the ability to at least change some of that, extend him, right? Don't look to bury. Like, if you want to back this guy, back him. Don't bury it in a news cycle.
To that. I checked in the other day. There was nothing to that at this point.
What? The contract?
An extension. Yeah.
What do you mean nothing to it? Like, there's nothing getting done right now, or that he's just going to get one?
I don't think it's really been seriously negotiated or drawn out or whatever, if there is one.
Then why do some report that it's
go ask them. Go ask them. I don't deal with other people's reports.
So is it reasonable for people to question if an extension will get done?
I don't know if it's going to get done. I'm not 100% positive there'll be an extension. I look at it and I think, he's probably in a trial period. Joe Schoen, let's be honest. And by the way, like you say, there's no difference. His job is the same. Like, I'll tell you what, talk to people around the league. I'm talking about people that work for other teams, people in front offices for other teams. Everybody here basically in Indianapolis, nobody thinks he has the same job. Literally nobody, Bobby. Like, nobody.
It's just not true.
His job is the same. Well, obviously, we know for a fact it's not true, because we know that there's people, different departments that used to report to him that no longer report to him. So it's clearly not the same job.
Yeah, and he doesn't have final say.
Is he involved? Is he in all the meetings? Does he have, still have input? Yes, in everything. So I think that's kind of the point he was getting to. But it's, we're talking semantics here. Anyway, yeah. I think people are kind of tired of talking about it.
Me too. Like, I watched his presser. And John Harbaugh's presser, and I was like, I'm tired of kind of reading the tea leaves, because part of me was like, you know what? The more he defends himself, the more he might, annoy John Harbaugh or Don Aponte or whatever, when he, where he's like, oh yeah, she's in charge of video and analytics, and that's it, Or she might be like, actually, I'm much more than that. Don't downplay what I am.
She's not the same job as Kevin Abrams either. Oh, but here's my understanding. So. There's been multiple groups that the Giants go around and talk to the agents of all these players. So the last few days, the A team, I mean, Joe Schoen, for the most part, and most GMs don't go to all these meetings. Maybe sometimes they just go to the biggest ones. But the general crew has been Don Aponte, Ed Triggs, who's been their primary contract negotiator for years, basically. Yeah. I know people still think that Abrams did it. That's not the case. And then members of the pro personnel department. Usually Chris Rossetti is in there with them, and then one of his assistants, whether it be like Anthony DiLatesta or Marquise Pendleton. There's been a different version of that group from what I understand, but something along those lines is like what have been meeting with agents to talk about free agents around the league.
Want to touch on this quickly because a lot of these things are making drastic changes. The NFLPA report card was leaked out. Good job not being dumb for once, NFLPA. Like, it was very clear when the NFL made it where they couldn't publicize that they could just leak it out to one of your ESPN colleagues. Giants didn't do well in it. I just kind of went the 4 best grades, 4 worst grades. The 4 worst grades: home game field, F-. We don't need to discuss that. I know they changed the turf. It's going to have that reputation until they burn it down or change the grass.
The ironic part is the data that the league has, and I even heard this again from someone this week, is that the injuries are they put the new turf have been basically the same as grass. Basically an even part.
Yeah, it's also not enough of a sample size to make conclusion on the new thing, but it's
saying. I know, I agree with you.
I'm just saying it's not going to change within the players' minds no matter what. So
it's going to be an even bigger topic because the World Cup is coming and they're going to put in grass. But again, another thing I was told is the grass for soccer is significantly different than the grass needs to be for football because there's 300-pound guys running around on the field and they need much thicker turf, whereas the soccer has very, very thin turf.
Also, the owners are just not going to pay the money to do that, unfortunately. Locker room got a D, totally changing. Defensive coordinator, D+, which was last, gone. And then general manager, D+, last, still here. The 4, they did pretty bad in all of them. So even their 4 best, I went and ranked every single one. Nutrition, dietitian got an A-. That was at best 7th and at worst 16th because there was, 10 teams that had A-. Mm-hmm. Special teams coordinator got a B+. He was fired. Strength coach got a B+. I'm like, oh, that's good. 25th to 27th. So everyone else had A's. And then food dining area got a B+, which is 11th to 15th, which I'm not really invested in the food dining area. Anything you make of that overall? Obviously, we all know that the GM has made some very unpopular moves and they've been bad. So he is dead last in the NFL, but at the end of the day,
it does catch my attention still that the field gets F-. That's just the perception that even the guys that play there every week still have. They just want grass. That's what it tells you. The Joe Schoen thing is notable because usually players don't even care about the general manager. It just goes to show you how much he's ruffled feathers, pissing people off there to the point where then they tell their friends, and then the other guys, like half the guys in the locker room, like the mid to lower end guys in the locker room shouldn't have any feelings basically on the general manager, right? But they do. They have very, very negative. And so it's certainly notable that.
And usually players like the GM because they're the one that brought them to the team. I remember there was one player with Gettleman when Gettleman was clearly out, and I was talking with him, and he's like, "Yeah, I like him,"
Yeah, Saquon Barkley would say that. Saquon liked him because he drafted him 2nd overall.
Yeah,
he drafted me 2nd overall. So,
The only thing I would ask on that is like maybe Harbaugh sees that, like, damn, the players can't stand him. That's not good.
You don't think he knew that before he came?
No, I don't think he was polling the players and of what their view. Like,
this is a known thing. This isn't.
It's a known thing between Giants fans and Giants beat reporters who live this shit every single day. My cousins and stuff who are more casual Giants fans, my aunts and uncles, they have no clue.
Were your cousins doing research on the team that they were going to take the head coaching job and take over everything?
I don't know if John Harbaugh was asking about the players' view of the GM.
I assume it was a little different. When he asked about the GM, I think you hear plenty. I'm sure he got feedback. I would hope so. Otherwise, you should be concerned that he's not doing his research.
Another one of your ESPN colleagues put out an article this morning, or a column this morning. Anything swirling around the combine about NFL's investigation or possible lack of investigation into Steve Tisch soliciting women from a convicted pedophile?
Yeah, no, it's been pretty quiet on that one. That's not something that is a huge topic here at the combine. It's something I think, like I told you this from the start, the owners' meetings is when this is going to be. You'll get an idea of where the ownership group stands on what's going to happen here moving forward. But yeah, kind of just keep NFL. Hey, we're not. We'll see. We'll see. We're looking at the facts, right? It's kind of where we're going to stand on that statement for now. That's what you saw in that article there today.
Yeah, but here's the facts. Like, and this is why I keep bringing it up. This is not like, not to get too deep into this. I'm sure there's some like, the CEO of whatever oil company is in there in an email, but not actually saying. He is literally talking about having done something illegal, soliciting women from a guy who was a convicted pedophile, who everyone behind the scenes knew how bad he actually was at that, and then was like, that's where I'm like, his case is different than 80% of whatever. But like, that's where it's like, man, and this is not a court of law. This is the NFL. They can, people have been suspended for years and stuff for much worse and with much less evidence.
That's the point of what he wrote at Dan Wetzel. It's the conduct policy, right? Does this register under something that deserves to be vetted and investigated under the conduct policy?
Right. So, all right. So
we're going to get the answer to that soon, by the way.
Yeah. Okay. Hopefully, like you said, owners meetings. What date are the owners meetings? That's like beginning of April, right?
I think it's the last week. Like it's March 29th. So like the last few days of March.
Pisses me off the first year that we're doing this, they move it away from 2 hours south of me. Because I would have been down there for that. But
well, it's not the first year. I told you they alternate. I've been to the Breakers in Arizona several
when it's
times.
in Florida, I will be out. I will be there. Not inside, but I'll get the hotel next to it. You can come over to my hotel room.
No. You should be able to get inside. Come on.
Okay, so I want to get to some questions because we are doing this live and we usually do that on Breaking Big Blue.
Mm-hmm.
Last thing before I get into some of the questions, and we're not going to go much longer.
Okay.
How annoying is it at these John Harbaugh combine press conferences where every other question is about the Ravens? I was like, come on, like get Ravens reporters, you get your one, maybe two question in there about the Ravens. I understand it. It's the same way the Giants are going to go ask Todd Monken about, working with John Harbaugh. We don't need 8 of those.
That's fine. That's what these things are for. It's for everybody. You could get, there's touch points with all different kinds of people and all different kinds of teams. The thing is, that's why then John Harbaugh goes off to the side and does a little sidebar with the local reporters. And also why we, in those kind of settings that you're complaining about, because you're sitting at home watching, taking our information as always. But yeah, I love that one. That remember the YouTube community wanted to kill me originally.
Yes.
But then he goes to the side. That's why we're saving certain questions for the side, so it's not out there and it's not up there and just be taken by everyone. And the second we go to the side, we say, "Yeah, what about Dexter Lawrence? You want him there?" Like that was the first thing basically we wanted to ask him. Second, we went to the side. So
do you have a transcript of that
setting? I do personally.
Can you send it to me? Because I'm not going to tweet any of it out. But I noticed.
I'll send it to you.
Yeah, because I didn't just for my personal. I'm not going to clip it up or anything.
I have an audio clip on my phone. Yeah,
because obviously I wasn't paying attention much to it, but I saw some quotes, and then when I went and actually went to watch the press conference, like all the important quotes are not in this.
That's why. So that's like the inside, combine or sports writing journalism thing is. We're talking to him on the side, and that's why it's just. And that group is just local reporters are only allowed in there.
Did they let Marshall Green in there?
Yeah, he was in there.
So he got in the local. Good for Marshall. I
believe so. I believe he did. Props to Marshall too. He asked some good questions. He had some good answers and asked some good questions, pertinent questions.
So yeah, because anytime I'm part of these things, I'm like, I'm not going to ask any questions. I'm just going to sit here. Like I'm not going to be a reporter. I think that was one of the fears of when they credentialed to Detroit. We're like, "Hey, Brian Dable, can you sign my shirt, bro?" It's like we're not, we're not.
There was a guy named Miami Mike who showed up to the Giants. Somehow he was getting a credential, and he was there for a few weeks. Have you ever heard about Miami Mike?
No.
And he was a piece of work. And he didn't last long. And I guess, when Olivier Vernon was just signed. And so the first question Olivier Vernon ever got when he joined the Giants, it was like, what's it like to join the worst defense ever? We were like, whoa, what? Because remember, the Giants defense was like historically bad the year before, close to it.
Yeah.
And what was it like to join the worst defense ever? I went, whoa, Miami, Mike.
I think one year the players need to revolt against the reporters when they get asked, like, did you meet with this team, or what do you think about playing with this player? And just the entire player's like, no, I didn't meet with them, and I would hate to play with Caleb Williams. I would hate to play next to Malik.
They used to put it on the back of their name tag index card, like who they met with. Like that doesn't exist anymore. That was funny.
Like, actually, Mr. Chicago Bears reporter, I think Caleb Williams is overrated, and he needs to, play a little
Malik
more
Neighbors
on time.
sucks. I'm not playing with Malik. He's gonna want all the targets.
Yeah, I don't want to. I don't want to play next to Malik Neighbors. I want way more targets. So it would be nice if the players revolted against that. Good question from Doug. Should we look into 30 visits as much as we did in the past? I think we're going to learn. Like, I'm still going to. I'm going to make sure I have a write-up on every single 30 visit, which helped me last year as I played from behind. But we'll see.
Remember, though, the front office is still currently pretty much the same front office. So I don't know if we should, like, that's something that might not completely change at this point.
Right.
First time around. But again, like you said, we won't know until this is one of those things you never know.
Yeah. Swizz Cheese says Styles, Downs, Tate, round 1, Hood, Jeremy, round 2, depending on who you go with.
Who was that?
Sonny Styles, Caleb Downs, Carnell Tate.
Yeah. I'm wondering, I haven't looked and I haven't asked around too much, but just poking around a little bit, is Tate a real top 5 type wide receiver?
I think he's on the border of that. I wouldn't take him, especially with the Giants situation and the other guys that should be available. I don't really land on the Carnell Tate.
I'm just wondering. I think it's a question we'll have to answer as we go along here. I don't know the answer. Although, Ohio State receivers, even though they were number 2, and I know Tate was number 2 because Jeremiah Smith is ridiculous.
Yeah, that's a terrible argument. Justin Jefferson was a number 2.
Yeah, and their number 2s, Ohio State, have been great in recent years. So I that wouldn't bother me at all.
Yeah, that's
we see you, Lord Templar.
Yeah, I see you, and I'm not. Again, I'm not in the draft Carnell Tate. That's an extremely bad faith argument on a player. Jeremiah Smith is the top guy there.
Like, is Carnell Tate even comparable athletically and as a receiver to Malik Neighbors, who's what was the 6th pick?
When you say comparable, it makes it sound like he's some bum, but no.
You know what I mean. You know what I mean. Like, we're obviously nitpicking.
He's not Elijah Surratt or
he's
whatever.
He's a really good player. I'm not saying he's not.
Let's see. Would you trade Tibbs for Jermaine Edmonds? We did get a fake Ricky account who said that was working on getting done. And then it was realized it was fake when Olamide Zaccheaus, who's a free agent, was put in there. What is going on here? You taking a nap like Aaron Glenn?
I had the phone in front of my face. I was going to look at a text I got.
That's what I'm asking. What is the text you got? Sometimes I look at a text during the podcast. I go like this. I don't, while Grump is mid-sentence, just like this,
That's a fair complaint. It is. I don't know why I did that. It's been a long week, Bobby.
That does happen to me because part of doing podcasting is sometimes you got to do some research on the fly because your co-host said something that was interesting or you thought of something. And every once in a while, Grump will or even Justin would ask me a question, and I'm mid looking up, some offensive tackle's contract to compare. I'm like, yeah, I just think they got to move forward with this. And like you say, that does happen every once in a while with podcast research.
Yeah. The only thing is with Edmonds, he's been in the league a while. He was banged up a little this last year. Why are they trying to get rid of him? Is that guy? I feel like they would want a middle linebacker that you want to build around, right? Whether it's Leo Chanel or Sonny Styles, whereas Jermaine Edmonds is sort of like a temporary piece, isn't he?
Yeah,
Like
but
a
Albert
temporary
Breer said the
stopgap.
trade market might be a 3rd round or a day 3 pick. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
I wouldn't do
the
Kayvon. I don't think I'd
likelihood is,
do. I
by
wouldn't
the
do
way, the
Kayvon for
likelihood is,
Jermaine.
by the way, the likelihood is he might get cut.
Yeah, so that's why I'm like, if it's that's where I'm not looking to trade from anymore. Also, can I say as Wolf? I want to finish off this.
Mhm.
The week and a half before free agency is my least favorite time to talk with my audience. You want to know why?
Why?
I'm not
Every
studying.
question is
I'm not
you assign
studying
a
this
title.
linebacker and that corner. I'm just not. You know what I mean? Like, so you try and do the best with what you've
Oh,
seen and stuff like
yeah,
that.
yeah.
And so it's like I can't tell you if Tremaine Edmonds is a really good fit for Denard Wilson right now. He could have fallen off for a year. Like because I am so Giant centric. I'm not going to be. I don't watch players the way I did, before I was doing a podcast where I'm, breaking down, watching the film of the Giants game 3 times over, and doing a podcast during the 4 o'clock window instead of just sitting down and watching the games. So. Oh, this is a good one to finish off with. When will we hear from coordinators? Not necessarily you guys, but like, do you think that they're going to put something out with coach coordinator interviews? Usually, teams do that, and the Titans did it. I watched Brian Dable's press conference, by the way, being like, former head coach, I got to get one question clip in here about talking about the Giants. Not a one. Titans reporters just asked 20 different times. Do you think you're going to work with Cam Ward good? In 20 different ways. That was wonderful, Titans. No, he hates Cam Ward, and that's why he took the job. Thank you. Give me one question about what did you your experience with the Giants.
There you are again, stealing. You just want to steal reporters' work. Yeah, there you go. See.
Yep. Clip it up. All right, so we'll finish with that. Appreciate you guys. We'll have another normal Breaking Big Blue next week. As we get into free agency, getting around the corner. So next week's schedule: Grump mock draft Monday. There will be a film breakdown out sometime next week. Pending free agency pod Tuesday. Free agency preview on Friday. Breaking Big Blue we'll go whenever Jordan really wants it to go next week. So, and then free agency, we're going to be cranking it out. Recaps of what's going on, film breakdowns of all their top players. So we will see you guys when we see you. Until then, let's go Big Blue.